I tell you what's niggling me a minute. Recently, the amount of people on...
There's nothing I would love more to do than disappearing and never, no one ever hear from me ever again.
Yeah, so you went stalking with Rob Button, basically, is what you did, yeah. And I looked it. Anyway, played it, pulled it, popped up like that, bare hook, like that. And I've never forgot that.
Yeah.
Let me get a bit more wood. Why not make the fire while we're at it? Welcome to the Mixing Bowl, a new series. I'm Mick Vials, and I'm joined by Joe Carass, top media man and conversationalist. So, Joe, here we are, a new series.
Yeah, this is something new for us, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Can't wait.
It's comfy.
Comfy. I say what, this is roaring, isn't it? I'm so hot.
It's beautiful.
Got me through.
It's cold outside.
It's freezing outside.
It's unbelievable. Baltic conditions.
Baltic conditions, yeah. We're in January, aren't we? Just started back, and yeah, what a beautiful place to be. Nowhere I'd rather be than sat here, to be honest.
And a great place to kick off this new series where we'll cover lots of different topics, ranging from debates to tackle talk. We might even have a guest or two, mightn't we?
Might have a guest or two in time. We're just going to chuck it in the mixing bowl, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Stir it up.
That's what it is, and see what pops
out.
Exactly. So,
as it says. So anyway, mate, let's get straight into it. What's your pet hate with fishing at the minute? I hate to start on a negative front.
Great question.
But pet hate, oh my God, at the minute.
Well, I'm not sure if it's the time of year where people have got too much time on their hands.
Yeah.
And I think that does affect people's brains and how they feel and all the rest of it.
Not getting out.
I tell you what's niggling me a minute. Recently, the amount of people on social media especially, sort of having a massive opinion negatively about the type of fishing that other people do.
Yeah.
Don't really get what drives that. You know, we've recently done on a river not far from here, a great video of fishing for chub, which, don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But then last Saturday I went to Oak Fishery, commercial fishery, and I fished bomb, well not bomb, I had to use feed because it was a feeding match, but and just a single bait, and that's probably as far removed as you can get from the chub.
Steak and mince.
But then we've done a video on somebody who's building a new fishery, trying to get it off the ground, changing it and doing stuff. And I noticed that, and it reminded me how much of an opinion everybody's got. Oh, this is that's rubbish, natural venues are rubbish, can't get a bite, or carp-filled puddles.
You know, isn't it?
What is the driving factor? What is upsetting people so much that they feel they've got to outburst publicly against somebody else and decry what they're doing? It doesn't make any sense to me. You know, we're in a beautiful pub, and I like bitter. And if somebody orders a lager outside him, I don't tell him he's an idiot and shouldn't be drinking it. And if they don't serve bitter,
if they're getting a gin and some fancy floral,
yeah, I might have an opinion on that. Yeah, a cocktail. But you know, it's like, for instance, if they didn't serve what I wanted, I'd find another pub that did. It's, you know, what is wrong with people? I just don't understand. What do you think about that?
I don't know, because I've obviously dealt with this quite. Like, obviously, I've done videos for a long time, and you always get them comments, don't you? Like, that's not proper fishing. That's not this, and I know that's a thing, isn't it, on Facebook? Like, that's not proper fishing. Every time you put something on of like F1 shallow, that's not proper fishing. But then it is for someone.
Exactly.
I do every kind of fishing imaginable. I go bass fishing, I go chub fishing, I go barbel fishing, I go carp fishing, I go commercial fishing.
There's nobody more diverse than you, is there?
And I love it all.
Of course you do.
So why not just love it all?
Because it's
if you don't,
it's fishing.
Why don't you just click onto the next video? Don't watch it.
Yeah, yeah.
Rather than leaving a snarky comment that might upset someone's day.
The time and trouble it takes to write a comment that's negative, I feel that person, and which is why I said maybe it's a time of year thing.
Yeah.
And people are bored. Well,
and maybe that's why we're getting a bit wound up with it and all.
Yeah, because we've got too much time to think about it. Summer, it all dies away, and you just flick over because you've got to get on to the next thing.
I do think there's that element of that's not proper fishing. And I take the example from the Marston Fields one, you know, and people are very quickly commenting, oh, there's no trees, there's no reeds. If they're taking the time to watch the actual video and it's full, they actually discuss, you know, obviously this is a barren fishery.
Yeah.
It's been dug for a few months. These things take time. You know, you go to Woodland View, you go to all these established, lovely fisheries. They've been there 20 odd years.
Absolutely.
And surely people can see that these things take time. You put a tree in the garden, it's not suddenly 8 foot tall, is it?
No, absolutely not. People are grabbing at headlines, aren't they? And I know the media uses headlines to
and we're probably guilty of
draw people in. maybe we have to mix it up and say, is this the most barren fishing on the planet, or do you want to come and fish on the moon? And then when they do go out, well, and maybe they then say, well, you've been impatient, trees will grow. Maybe we need to reverse the psychology, but
it is interesting.
Nonetheless, it's still fishing, and despite the weather, I mean, I've driven here today, and there's a lot of floodwater around. The venue that I'm looking to be fishing at this weekend is frozen, which means that I might have to
diversify.
Well, I might have to go down to garden centre, but I can't see that.
I can see you ending up in a pub.
Pubs. Well, here we are. We'll stop here.
Stay here.
And you know, so because the type of fishing that we all do, I've been to Allcroft sort of last week. That were three different matches. That's quite difficult. We've got Bloodworm and Joker on some of the silvers matches. It was the Golden Rod in between. Fortunately, it landed on a big shoaler carp that were just swimming around.
There, didn't you?
Yeah, caught a few, £48, and managed to qualify for the final in March. But anyway, that's enough about me talking about me. Somebody else talk about me. What about you, Joe? Where are you fishing?
I just quickly I think the fundamental thing with that though, that people should just let people go and enjoy what they do.
I agree.
Go fishing where you want to go fishing. Enjoy it for what you want to enjoy it for.
Yeah.
Take out of it what you want to take out of it. And if that means going to somewhere where you can park behind your peg, where you don't have to carry your kit far, you only need 5 metres of pole, great.
Yeah, you don't want to put some waders on and put
great.
a platform up.
But likewise, if you want to do like what you did on the Trent, which is fantastic fishing, brilliant, even better.
Yeah.
It's just,
one guy, I have to say...
hang on, I'm just contradicting myself there. Even better.
one guy said, I don't understand why you have to wear waders. Well, I didn't really want to be wading in freezing cold water with my ankle socks on.
And ultimately, people vote with their feet, don't they? And
yes.
I can't shake the fact that every time we go filming on a commercial, which is most of the time, let's be honest, there's always people there and there's bums on seats.
Yes.
Yet whenever we go on a river or a canal, there's no one there. So ultimately, people go where they're going to the master.
There's a reason why they're so popular in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you just said, it bums on seats. But it's probably an interesting point for people to tell us what they think and comment on this video and give us your feedback, because that's the one thing about the mixing bowl that we are looking to do going forward in future episodes is we'll get some topical conversations, won't we? We'll ask you what you want us to discuss, and we'll do some nice little sort of like a Q&A, but more of a general subject type of chit chat by the fire. If we've got enough wood, we can probably keep it going forever. You like that, don't you?
It's going well.
Absolutely. It's a great place. Be
nice to have a pint of bitter, actually. And I've got my mug, look.
Yeah, maybe the chauffeur could take us back. But I don't think that's going to happen quite today. So it's a sober affair with a nice cup of tea. Obviously, not being a football fan myself, I didn't bring my Leeds United cup because that's where I'd be as a Yorkshireman, Yorkshireman.
You should be a Rotherham fan, didn't you?
Yeah, but everyone needs a second team. If you're a Rotherham guy, you need a second team. That would clearly be Leeds.
Fair comment,
If you're a straight kind of guy, you wouldn't go over the Pennines to the red side or the dark side, or where my father said, son, that's Lancashire, don't go there. However, he's brought his favourite cup, and he will insist on drinking out of it. So, what does fishing hold for you going forward, Joe?
This is a real... do you know what? Everyone... Like this time of year, everyone's a bit. But I love this time of year because it means two things. Well, mainly one thing is the chub time of year. The next 3 months, January is always a bit slow, but February and obviously March until the close season is chub time.
Right,
they're the biggest. That fishing for me is
because you're looking for specimen chub. Yeah. You're not looking to catch 20. You're looking to catch one.
A big one, yeah.
The biggest it can be.
The biggest it can be, yeah.
Which is a complete contrast to what I would say is your natural. When I look at you, I see you as a match angler.
Yeah.
And obviously a fantastic record in matches. Member of the Barnsley Blacks, just rocks up when he wants to, wins his section. But where does that come from, the specimen fishing?
Yeah, I don't know. I've always, because I grew up in Knaresborough, right on the river, I think I've always naturally been inclined with river fishing anyway, natural fishing. And it's just sort of come from that really. And then a few years ago, it was COVID actually. Obviously I was match fishing. And when we couldn't go match fishing, we were looking for something else to do because we weren't allowed, were we?
No.
If you remember. And you weren't allowed you were allowed with one other person. And it just so happened that Rob Woodham, a good friend, rang me one day and he's like, do you fancy going out? And I said, do you know what, I fancy going chub fishing because someone had tipped me off about this little stream with some chub in it. And he's like, do you know what? Yeah, that sounds good. And we went the afternoon. Robert caught a lovely one. I caught a few little ones, and it was like that was it. I was like, I need to do this.
That was obviously in the warm weather.
No, it was in the winter.
The second time.
Yeah, it was when we were social distancing and all that.
So you obviously go off roving down the river.
Yeah.
So you went stalking with Rob.
So
Wood,
yeah,
basically, is what you did, yeah.
stalking with Rob, and we started just catching these little ones. And Rob got fed up with it eventually, but I didn't. And I'm quite an obsessive person anyway.
Yeah.
So it's my nature. I like to get stuck into something, and it started in a little stream with a 5-pounder. Then I was like, I fancy catching a 6-pounder, and I went on the River Nene. Sorry, Nen, for anyone who lives where I live.
Nene.
Yeah, Nene. Went on there and I actually caught a 6-pounder on my first trip, which is how lucky I am. And then it's just gone from there, and I just love it. I go on a night, I get the kids to bed, I get the kids to bed.
The feed's better at night, the big fish.
No, it's the chance I get to go.
Fantastic. That's your fishing.
That's my fishing, yeah. You've got to do the best of what you got, haven't you? And I don't get loads of time, so I'm like, well, I'll go in the evening then.
Could you see yourself as a specimen angler?
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's funny. It's never appealed to me.
It doesn't interest you at all, does it?
But I'm a social animal. I think I can't stop talking, which you'll probably see that through this series of videos that we're doing.
Fishing, though. So I'd always have to keep that. But there's nothing I would love more to do than disappearing and no one ever hear from me ever again.
Yeah.
And I'd just go and sit in green somewhere.
I can see that. Yeah. And
maybe that was what.
Is that why you're going to Boddington's? Because you've been going to Boddington's, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been going to Boddington, yeah. Do you know, I was thinking about this on the way down. There's nothing, 10 years ago, I'd hated more than Boddington. Because I'm a busy angler.
Yep.
I'm at my best when I'm catching lots of fish. And Boddington's couldn't be further from that. But it's kind of like, I don't know, I'm in like the middle third of my life now, aren't I? And I'm slowing down.
Oh, you're maturing a little bit.
And I actually really enjoy it. And I know you love that kind of thing, don't you?
Yeah, I don't like fast-paced angling. I never really like. Sorry, that's not true. If you're running a stick float down, get a roach choke, I can deal with that.
You can handle that.
But I never liked shipping 1 million 2-ounce roach on staying.
Yeah.
It drove me insane because it's monotonous.
Yeah.
It's the monotony of it that I don't like.
Whereas you want to be like, I want to try double caster and get a.
Yeah, and all of a sudden it goes around and you go, I caught a bream because I put that sort of thing. And I think that's an interesting. We're all different in that respect. How we like to fish. But Boddington's or that type of fishing, setting a peg up, knowing that you've put your feeder in, it's sat perfectly, it's set, you're fishing, and saying to yourself, that will go.
That will go, yeah.
And
confidence, and it didn't.
And I love that because if you've set your stopwatch and it's clicking on to 25 minutes, you've got to be confident that you're doing it right. And when it goes round, you've that's the victory, which I suppose is
a challenge,
a step down version of specimen fishing, because you're like, I want to catch that fish, so I know I need to go then, this time of year, use that bait, set it up like this, put baits on that, I'm not going to get pestered with smaller fish, which is a big thing.
I've always been a bites man and worked my way through the small fish to get to the bigger fish, and now I think the specimen fishing's helped me with in that regard, because often, I'm chucking out for a barbel, and just to put it into perspective, I've caught 3 barbel in about 40 sessions. That just shows you how hard it is and challenging it is. Catch a few chub and stuff mixed in. But it's kind of like taught me that fishing isn't just about catching numbers, is it? It's all relative, isn't it? If you catch 3 at Boddington, it's like brilliant.
Well, that's because that's the competitiveness in you, which I've, obviously at my ripe old age, 39, I've realised that what drives me is the competitive side of it. If I'm not competing, I'm not interested. But that's just me as a person in life. If we're doing anything, it's like, who can make the best fire? I want to build. I want the mythology to do that, and in fishing, it's like I can't get this. And I don't mind throwing myself under the bus, going to places that are out of my comfort zone where I don't know how to catch them. We've completely got it wrong at Allcroft at the moment.
That's a team match, isn't it?
Yeah, we can't. It's teams of 4. Myself, Frankie, John and Shelley, Andy Oldham and Gas Mumby, all fantastic fishermen, apart from me, and they all know how to fish. But we just can't quite get the right ingredients, and that's actually more motivating because you know you're doing it wrong. But I suppose experience tells you that you're doing it wrong. Whereas a lot of people be like, you're not drawing very well. No, I know we're not, but I'm still not catching enough fish. You know that you're not catching enough fish.
Chance, you're not making the most.
And that's what drives me as a fisherman. Can I do better? And just a bit of a cliche. And I've won matches, and I've come away thinking I could have done that better. I've won it, but I could have won it more comfortably because you've not extracted the potential from your peg. And I suppose that's the difference with us all. You know, and you'll when it warms up, you'll probably change the type of fishing that you're doing.
Yeah, just going back to that, it's so interesting because I actually blanked yesterday on the match I was on.
Boddington's.
Yeah, I won't talk about that. I was in good company. I won't say who blanked next to me, but he was a world champion. And I came away thinking, oh, I've done this, I've done that. But when I've actually sat and thought about it, I've probably not done anything wrong. It was just one of them things. You're in January. We're all the way the pegs were. It was like a funny bank. We're all chucking in the same spot, 3 of us. Too much pressure on the fish. It's cold. The fish have moved away. So I could go away and totally take apart what I've done and change things for next week. When actually I've been doing all right, doing what I've been doing. So sometimes you can obviously nitpick your performance, can't you? And then sometimes it's like, actually, hang on, let's take a step back. Let's go again next week. Carry on.
Readdress it.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
Because I think part of your journey there has been getting up to speed with the kit,
the
casting.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's a bit of an industrial thing. You're fishing from what, 50 to 100?
Well, my last cast yesterday was 105 metres.
Yeah. And you've had to work, just to point out to people, I'm right in saying, because I know you, and we've always had these discussions, you've had to work your way up to that because you've been underhanding a piece of cheese paste down the
I've been doing cheese.
And so therefore you're rusty.
Totally rusty. I was
not incapable, just rusty.
Rusty. I've not done any of that kind of thing for years, and I've done some videos on it, and it's been really good. I've really enjoyed it, and it's that technical side of it to now where that kind of range is relatively comfortable because I've got the kit, I've worked on my technique, and it's fine. I'm doing it yesterday, lovely.
Brilliant. What rod are you using for that distance?
A 13-foot Monster Extreme, which is
the Preston.
Yeah, it's a £100 rod. It is fantastic. Fair play to them. The lads at Preston. Strong, powerful. Not a brute though when you've got a fish on. It's just perfect. And it just shows you it's a cheap rod.
What sort of weight feeder?
I use 45 grams up to about 90 metres. If I can get that out there, lovely. And then sometimes you've got to put 60 on it.
Because of the wind and stuff.
Yeah, you've got to. We spoke about this. When you hit the clip, you've got to have control to put it in. And that 60 gram just gives you that bit more momentum. You can get the 45 gram there, but the 60 gram gives you that control to get that.
Look. And I'm right in saying that's a method, not a banjo?
I use a method, yeah. It's personal preference.
Incredible. Shot leader?
Yeah, £10 detection. £5 on the reel. Nice big reel.
Nice, as thin a line as you feel you can get away with.
Gets to
Could you drop down even lower?
Yeah, I think you could, yeah.
If you were. Because especially winter when they're not pulling and.
But the only thing I will say is, and this is going to sound funny, it's a massive reservoir, and your inclination is that you've got to whack it out miles. But the people who are catching it at the minute are catching it 50 to 70 metres. And yesterday I'm going to say his name, I had Steve Ringer next to me and Stu posted to me right.
Dobbed him in there.
Who were both big casters, as we know. So I'm sat there thinking, well, I'm cut off because, like I said, they're sort of chucking towards me because of the way the bank is, and I'm in the middle. So we've got 3 feeders landing. I'm thinking my only edge here is to go further earlier than them and try and nick the fish that are further out, because I was thinking we're only going to get 1 or 2. So all 3 of us end up in an arms race, and I'm like at 105, Steve's at 98.
You've cancelled each other out,
100 metres, we cancel each other out. And yet Keith, to the left of Steve, is catching, he had 4 or 5 pulls at 60 metres. So sometimes
he went on with
we're getting obsessed
with
this Boddington thing, everyone's chucking along. But
do you think the fish are coming or going? And what I mean
is, they're coming along.
Right.
Where we are is right in the middle of the 2 sections. So I just don't think the fish ever get to you. Because it's obvious the start at the ends and they come in.
Yeah.
I used to think they come out of the lake, but I think when the water's coloured as it is at the moment, because it's like a flooded river at the moment, it's chocolate.
Yeah.
I think they're just quite happy close to the bank.
Brilliant.
Last week I had to go as far out as I could to get a bite. This week I've probably overdone it. That's fishing though, isn't it?
And that's going to keep you entertained until spring comes?
I reckon I've got 2 more weeks.
And then you'll drop back on
the river, because like I said, February, that's chuck time.
And when then that finishes, which is obviously March, the close season, that could be a sit-and chat to talk about that, couldn't we?
That's a debate.
You'll then stop with obviously the river fishing.
Yeah.
Will you drop straight onto commercials, or will it be a bit cold still?
Probably. I don't really know. I haven't really thought that far ahead. What about you?
Well,
because obviously your fishing's in a transition at the moment.
Absolutely.
Your England thing.
Yeah, that's right.
To an end,
I'm looking at 2025. We had a Barnsley meeting this week, Drennan Barnsley Blacks, and welcomed a couple of new members, Rob Swan and Max Stevens, and obviously the calendar's there. Yeah. So you look down the calendar, it's the Commercial National, sorry, the Census Challenge is the first one, which I've never got involved in. That's on the Gloucester, great fishing, but as it happens, that's good news because that actually will clash with, that's the breakfast rolls already.
What's going on here, Mick?
Well,
We just had to have a break.
Little toilet break, and when you said to me what are you going to be doing all year, I thought that could be a long question, so why not make the fire while we're at it? I don't know if you're the same, but
So much calming about fire.
I'm a bit of a firebug.
We got one at home.
Yeah, it's in the DNA.
Oh, it's crackling. Is that a good sign?
Dad loves that's perfect. It's just a little bit damp, I think, and obviously it's all the little shards of wood. But what you mustn't do is panic, because we've got a nice hearth, nice big open fire there, and we'll be fine. Trust me.
Oh, right.
I'm into it. I love it. We've got one at home. It's perfect. But sending the wife out to cut the forest down and chop them into it's just not going well. I had to buy some recently. So yeah, back in the seat, and so we had the Drennan Barnsley Blacks meeting. The calendar's out in front of us, and I'm looking down that, and I think the first match of the season is Angling Tides Winter League final, which will be on the Drains and Decoy. And
Lively that, Mick.
you like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to keep you awake, make sure you're not. Are you listening? And I've never got involved in that. So we have 5 anglers on the Drains, 5 on Decoy, and then the next one is the Census Challenge, which clashes around with the Bait Tech Feeder Masters Super League qualifier at Barston, which I'll be organising and running that match. Really looking forward to that. Obviously, which just kind of reminds me that the Bait Tech Feeder Masters qualifiers is a big part of my calendar, regardless of in the past international duty, which I'll get onto that in a moment. But tickets go on sale very shortly. This video will probably come out similar time or just after, and that's always very popular. Really look forward to that. Yeah. We obviously have the Bait Tech Feeder Masters Super League, which is a team event. We're the Feeder Masters factory team, which is myself, Lee Kerry, Will Freeman, and double gold medalist Michael Buxwalder. It's a great event. Yeah. Really hotly fought out. It's a real battle. That is, it's brilliant. And then the national later on in the year, which is on the Warwickshire Avon. Of all places this year, the Division 1 National.
Like an old school national, that.
Yeah, we were chatting about that, and we've got the world's greatest angler, Alan Scotthorne, sat a couple of seats down, and we're talking about long uplands, and you have to be right, little floats and small hooks, and talking about diverse anglers. I mean,
oh God.
There's
no one more diverse.
Absolutely, and it just reminds you that's going to be an interesting thing, because that'll challenge us, me. I want to fish that. Always like to fish the nationals on the rivers. I think I've got 5 gold nationals from the Trent.
The Trent.
Yeah, with Barnsley, and because it's a thinking day, you've got to take the kitchen sink, work it all out from there. So that'd be a great match. And then the Feeder National, Angling Trust Feeder National, which, unlike the national this year, because the World Club Champs for float fishing will be contested from the Census Challenge.
It's a different format.
They've mixed it up. So the Division 1 National won't determine who goes forward to
that's interesting.
So but the Feeder National, that will then be the qualifier for the World Club Championships for clubs, and that will this year be on the 10-mile bank and middle level, I think, which is 19th of September. So that's round about the time of the Nufish Feeder King final and the Feeder Masters final, which hopefully, if I draw a few good pegs in the qualifiers, we should qualify for that.
I'm sure you'll be there.
Well, we've managed it every year, but even if we're not, we'll be there because it's our competition. So although I won't be going to Lithuania this year with the Drennan England Feeder team, because I stepped away from that sort of scene, my year's still full.
There's plenty on, isn't
yeah, and it's interesting because you gear your fishing around international work, and you always want to make sure that you're top of the game. And as it happens, the World Championships this year is on a river, which you would have said is naturally I lean towards that, yeah. So, but you would still have to go and do some work, and that's the interesting part of it, because they're talking about 150, 180, 200 gram feeders.
Okay.
I've fished the Trent and the Wye, and I've never had more than 4. I don't think I've ever had more than 4 ounce on, because it's not palatable. It's not. It's not particularly nice
Can't get
fishing.
around it, can we?
No. So that's different rods, and it's different tackle altogether.
Because I think that, sorry, just we only ever fish rivers in that state when they're flooded, don't we?
Yes.
So it's a hard, different thing. Whereas those rivers in them parts of the world, they're just fast, aren't they?
They're big.
Even when they're low, they're just fast, powerful rivers, aren't
big, powerful rivers.
Yeah. So you're getting bites. It's not like you're sitting in a flooded river with a log.
No, we live on this tiny little island.
Yeah.
When it comes to fishing, we're on a tiny little island.
Yeah.
We've got amazing rivers like the Severn and the Trent. They pale into insignificance. You can cast across the Trent easily, anywhere you want to be. I don't even think there's a part of it until you get to Hull that you can't cast across. And you know, you go to some of these places, and when we've driven down to Eastern Europe and we've crossed the Danube in 6 places as we've trundled along, that's a river.
Yeah, because wherever you go in Europe, there's a Danube there, isn't it?
Yeah, it starts in Holland and finishes somewhere near Black Sea.
Yeah.
You can't help if you're driving to Bulgaria, but to cross it about 6 times. So that'll be an interesting thing. And my point was that you would start to build your year around that. But that World Championships is actually, I believe, before our season opens again. So all the work would have to be done before March, which would have basically freed up the calendar anyway, because you're done and dusted. Yeah. Unless you're going to jump in your car, drive onto the continent to fish a European river that isn't closed for the close season. Well, I can see that definitely becoming one of these subjects.
Topics, isn't it?
Then you'd be done and dusted by March the 14th, because you'd have to have all your kit ready, having practiced on the river. Yeah. When I saw the River Trent this morning, it were about 42 miles wide actually. It was stretched from Lincoln to Newark. Not a pretty sight, and I just hope everybody's not lost too much.
The close season debate. I don't want to get into it yet. We'll do that for another one. But God, you feel for river anglers, don't you? Oh, because you can't plan anything now, can you?
No.
You can't, like me with the chub.
You might not get back on it.
I might not get back on it in a chub condition. Really frustrating. I've never had it before because I've never been an ardent river angler. You know, if close season comes along, it's like, yeah, fine, we'll do something else. Whereas now I'm like, I just wish I had a few more.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll see what happens.
Top the brews up, haven't we, Mick?
Need a brew. Very important. Even if you are filling that.
Big tea man, mate. Big tea man. I think we need to chat about Nufish, don't we? Because it's got an exciting year, isn't it?
Well, we've obviously been talking about the year ahead, and it's not all fishing, is it? Despite what people think.
It's quite a lot of fishing, though, isn't it?
I don't know. Depends who's listening. Depends who's asking. Depends who's listening. No, but we do actually have to.
Yeah, a lot of work goes in.
Get some work done, don't we? And because ultimately, somebody's got to pay for us to go fishing, haven't they? Which is, Nufish is a growing brand. Obviously, we're very proud of it. We've had a great year last year and the year before, and we're getting, a bit more traction. We're trying to expand the range. The company is certainly growing in its recognition, and I think people are recognising that we're trying very hard to develop products that actually work and some thought gone into it. You know,
because we want to use it, don't we? At the end of the day.
Of course you do. Yeah, you can flop fishing tackle out and sort of bring things to the market and just make it the right price and people buy it. But ultimately, you need to be proud of what you do. Yeah. And our sort of ethos at Nufish is that it's engineered to make a difference. That's how we feel. As an angler, you want to have input and see that manifest itself in your product development, and then flourish in products that people go, do you know, I've used that and it's absolutely fantastic. And some of the products we brought to the market last year were really good, and we've got a lot in the engine room and a few bits in the pipeline. Strangely enough, we've got some sort of finished samples for you to look at later on, Joe, when we finish filming. We're working on some carbon products.
Yep. Take from that what you will.
We're expanding on the line that we've done. Detection's been a fantastic success. We looked at what we needed as anglers, and thought, and detection came out of that.
I'm totally sold on that product, by the way.
Well, it's been.
Which I have been for a while, but
it's been amazing.
And 2 people came up to me yesterday and said how good it was.
Yeah.
Just just off their own back just came up and said
it works.
And it's just a great product.
It stands up to the job.
It's a great product.
That's the most important thing. It does what it says it's going to do, which is, you know, last. It's strong. It sinks and it's great. So we're going to expand on that category. I'm working on some up length lines and some rig lines that one or two people are testing out there. Our Nufish Osset lads have, one or two of them have got some bits, and
we've had it for quite a while now.
Oh yeah. I think 18 months since I got the first sort of samples, and we've tweaked that, and just to try and make sure that it's applicable, because ultimately, as we started off on this chat, everybody does different kind of fishing, and you need different products and different qualities. It's different tools for different jobs.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah, but you could also, by that same respect, you could end up launching 15 lines and confuse everyone.
You could finish up down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, so it's really difficult.
What you have to do, and we get a lot of people saying, why don't you do this, why don't you do that? Why don't you do it in, somebody asks, why don't you do a detection in £15? Because the sort of, ultimately we're a business, and you have to make sure that you're sustainable, that we can stand the test of time and not blow ourselves up. And by reaching for small niche markets, you can find yourself very, very busy, but not actually being able to sort of maintain the core business. And ultimately, you know, we've got a great team now, people on the road, people in media, obviously people in headquarters, and we want to expand that team as well, which is something to watch out for very soon. We're looking at expanding the development part of the business, because ultimately fishing tackle is what we're about. We go fishing and we want kit to use. So,
elephant in the room. Are we going to do detection on bigger spools? Because I know these will be like, are we going to, come on, we want 300 metres, we want 600 metres.
Well, I tell you what is interesting, and something I've really learned.
I'll put you on spot there, haven't I?
Yeah, but I like a bit of that. So, obviously, I've been in fishing tackle sales for 20.
Yeah, you've been in the retail side of it for
20 some years. That's right.
So you look at it from a totally different perspective to me as an angler.
Yeah, I've got a commercial vision and a mind, and what I mean by that is that obviously what the market responds to and what it doesn't respond to, not commercial fisheries, natural fisheries, the commercial side of things, and there's kind of a sweet spot in every product, which. Take hooks, for example. We don't do hooks, and then this will prove that, you know, I'm not kind of defending any kind of decisions about detection line. If you have a hook and it starts at size 10 and finishes at size 22, I can assure you the 14, 16s will be the peak. If you draw a graph of sales and it tapers away like that, but then if you have a really strong hook that you could catch a chub on, and it goes from a 2 to a 16, it'll be the 10 that sells. And that's the case with line and with something like detection. So the £6 and £8 is by far the key sweet spot. So it tapers away, and I just don't feel like the market's big enough for us to expand, you know, too high and too low. But on the amount per spool subject, I'm a person that's obviously, I've now realised, despite me spending so much time obviously selling fishing tackle in the past with Press Innovations, I didn't realise how many people don't like to mess around when they're spooling up the reels. They want to get an empty spool and strip all their line off, which is the bit that confuses me, because I know how tight fishermen are. The first thing they do is strip all the line off and reload the whole lot. Now, to me, that makes no economical sense.
They're hiding 150 metres of it.
They're burying really good quality brand new line when all I would do is strip off my old 150 metres, or
use that as
take a bit of rough guess, strip some off, put some on. Ultimately, how far do people cast, right? So I think I actually said this in a detection float fishing video, is just put 75 metres on. You don't, with a float, the most you're going to cast is 20 metres. If you were chucking a 15 gram slider, you might get to 40 metres, because you can't find your bait any further than that. So, but nonetheless, it's quite clear that there's two types of people. The ones who think that it's going to be cheaper, what they don't understand is it still takes the same amount of shipping and labelling and cost and labour.
It's high quality material.
Absolutely. So it's not necessarily cheaper in that respect. And then the people that don't want to mess about spooling up their things. So I'm not going to lie, it is in consideration, but it's not in the pipeline just yet. But it's on the table for discussion. Yeah, it's on the drawing board.
We keep getting asked, don't we?
But it might only be £5, £6 and £8.
We keep getting asked, don't we? So
Yeah,
we've got
yeah.
to
Or
look
four,
at it.
four to £8 possibly, something like that. That'd be interesting to see what people think.
Yeah.
We might do one of the Nufish Anglers Club's polls, because that's an interesting thing.
A good thing.
So we have a group on Facebook, Joe, don't we? That
Yeah, if you haven't checked it out, have a look.
it's great, and we can do a little poll on there, which is what we did with what diameter hook and rig line do you use, because we want to know what you know, the end user, the person that parts with his hard-earned cash, we want to know what it is that he's willing to part that cash for.
Yeah.
So we want to get it right, really. And but yeah, we're hard at work.
Lots of projects coming.
Yeah. We're working on a feeder, which will be more, towards the commercial scene, because we've done sort of natural feeders in the past, and we might even look at some more floats that have been immensely popular, none more than the JC Pace range, which
what success that's
off to. Well, when it comes to pace fishing, there's nobody better than you, is there? So
I don't know.
yeah, well, you're going to say that, aren't you? But it's quite clear that everybody thinks that, and the way that you've developed that float, especially the margin one, is amazing. And that's an interesting point about people's opinions, because that's quite a unique design that doesn't always lend itself to people's immediate, oh, that's perfect, because it's got a really thin tip.
Well, we the famous story, obviously, with the JC margin paste, because I showed Mick the ones that I'd had made, and I showed Mick him, and he went, and you got them made, didn't you, by our manufacturer? And we sat in the van on a rainy day, didn't we?
Yeah.
And he went, look at that. I said, I understand it. I get where you're coming from. Is it sellable though? Can we sell this? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you'll do for me. And we went with it, and it's a gamble, innit? Because it's such a
I put the onus on you. I said, if you think you can explain the reason for that, then we'll do it.
Yeah.
But which is my commercial brain versus your angling. And obviously, I would say I'm half and half, but I have to be very careful about my angling brain influencing product development. But it's a fine line, because ultimately,
well, this is one of the rare occasions where it's paid off, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Because
you went out there,
you guys have gone out and tried it and realised how good it actually is.
Yeah.
It does improve your pace fishing. It looks unconventional, but it does really work.
I completely get it.
And it's been a massive success story. But for every one of them, there's ones that don't work, isn't there? But we got that right, and I'm really pleased with that as well.
I wonder if we'll be able to ever get an underwater paste with you. I know there's one just come out recently, and I ain't finished. No, I've only started watching it.
I haven't watched it yet.
But they're very hard. I'm not sure about it. I mean, that's a great conversation, underwater videos.
Yeah.
I've watched all the good ones. Guru have done some, and Matrix have now done some. And it's interesting, because I'm a bit of a cynic at times with myself. And the one thing that keeps rattling my brain is that you can't film underwater unless it's absolutely gin clear.
Yeah, that's the problem, innit?
And there's not many places that I fish that are gin clear. Right. So I'm not
with a camera
sure how much natural, what's the reality of it all. However, there's some great information on those, isn't there, as to how your rig falls. Because ultimately, whether the water's coloured or not, your hook will still fall down at the side of the feeder.
It's the Guru one was a classic example, and their stuff is fantastic. I've never taken anything away from them. And obviously, when they're at Ferry, they're all talking about short hook lengths and stuff like that, which in theory is totally right. But there's no question that in practice, a metre hook length catches you loads of fish. And I've been so many times feeder fishing, and theory and the actual practical knowledge suggests that you need a short hook length to see you bite quicker. They're getting away with it. But actually getting the bite in the first place, because of the long hook length, is more important. So
they came away from their single maggot.
I think they're quite dangerous.
Yeah, because they came away from that with single maggot is king.
Yeah, but how many matches have been won at Ferry with single maggot?
And I know just after that, some of them lads that were involved in it, when I couldn't catch any, I had to put double and triple maggot on. And they were pulling
worms,
because tomorrow's a different day. And that is the beauty of fishing.
Yes.
That no 2 days are the same, are they? Ever. Yeah. And I think that's what the attraction is, because
it's quite dangerous to base your fishing on that information. I think take bits out of it and glean your information, but nothing beats actually being on the box and doing it, innit? And learning
no, that's what fishing is ultimately.
And I hope we see more of these underwater things.
Yeah.
And when our feeder project, we'll be up to. That's what I'd love to do. Some
I've searched for a snorkel.
I've got me a frog suit.
I presume that's not how it's done, but I can't imagine you going down with some flippers and a.
I don't know.
Yeah, we GoPro.
Get me armbands on.
Fantastic. So it's looking forward to 2025. ahead. It's going to be great. If it's anything like 24, we'll be really pleased. And yeah, hopefully some of the conversations that we're going to have on these chats will lead into a bit of that. As I said, we'll do some tackle chats, we'll do some debates, and we'll probably put something out there, won't we?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be nice, isn't it? And we want some like feedback from you guys. We want points of like little sparks, like a little comment that'll just be like spark a discussion or spark an idea, or what do you think to the closes and what do you think to certain subjects, people fishing, social media, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like, good, isn't it? Or even
exactly.
even actual fishing advice. Because one I wanted to chat to Mick about is, and it's something that's on my mind at the minute, is method feeder hook baits, for example. And I think it's a great one to probably end this on, maybe having a discussion about it. Because where are you, Mick, with method feeder hook baits? Because theory is that they come in and slurp the lot up. This is the last ball, by the way. We're putting the last ball in. We've mixed all our stuff up and we're throwing it in, aren't we?
Right, so just to paint a picture, I said earlier, I'm a bit of a cynic, and I'm not a cynic. What I'm not, which is the opposite to that, is it's this.
Yeah.
It's that. It's definitely this, that, or the other. Because ultimately, no 2 days are the same, like we've just discussed about the underwater, the ferry, blah, blah, blah. And fishing is so diverse. 1 minute you're fishing with a piece of corn, next thing you're fishing with maggot, and it's like turning a light switch over. But I'm not sure when that is and how it happens. Now, one thing that I always believed was, because I remember one of the first times I ever went method feeder fishing, Tommy Pickering had us down at Barston. It was a Drennan Super League final. And he said, I need to teach you how to method feeder fish because you don't do it because you're just a natural angler. Right, this is what you're doing. He showed me how to mould. They were the old clear
the
corum feeders. This is how you mould it.
Obviously.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, put it in, palm in your hand, you mould it like this, you put your bait in, lay it in, pump like that, micros or ground bait, as the case may be. And we were using maggots. And I remember we were gluing 3 maggots together at their thick end and then banding them and all this and that and the other. Anyway, we finished the session. I'll never forget it because I was with Preston at the time, not been there that long, and I think we'd just launched Dutchmaster feeder rods, designed by Arno van der Stad. Fantastic pieces of kit. And I was practicing casting. And so I was just loading my feeder and chucking it out. But of course, when you load your feeder, you're going like that, and I was putting milk length inside it so it didn't get snagged. And Ricky was there, I was saying, these rods are great, look, when I'm chucking up to that island, which is not that far these days.
But it felt like it.
We've learnt to
we
cast.
didn't even measure, did we?
No.
That's about 60 yards.
I think I was to the right of the island, it was about 75 metres. And I've gone like that, dropped it in, and I've turned to talk to him, and my rod's gone like that. I've caught one. And I'm foul hooked it. Anyway, I've played it, pulled it, popped up, it's like that. Bare hook, like that. And I've never forgot that.
Yeah.
And ultimately, my feeling on method hook baits is, it's however they are feeding at the time, the amount of suction that they use, then determines what the right hook bait is on the day. So there's times when they're being a bit finicky, I think you need a heavier one so that it stays in situ.
Yeah.
And then there's other times when they're
hoovering,
gill feeding and they're doing that, you want the lightest thing possible.
A single maggot can be great, can't it?
And I remember you, we were there, and I think you said, no, I'm still on maggots, I'm a maggot guy, years ago. Yeah. And it was like, well, it still works. And I don't think that they want the maggots, because I've watched some of the underwater videos since, which proves my theory, and most of the fish are caught by accident.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And so therefore, loading your feeder to make them slurp, suck up and hoover the bait up in a fashion that then means your hook bait goes inside their mouth and you catch them on an air rig is more important. And I'm convinced that it's traction on surface area, without getting too deep here, scientific.
It's good, I like it.
The traction, so 3 maggots has probably got a lot more surface area, if you work it out scientifically, than a bandom, for instance, because there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
And
it's a big footprint, isn't it?
Massive. So when you waft something in the air, a leaf that big will blow a lot easier than a leaf that big, because it's like a ship's sail. And when they're sucking, there's more traction on the bait.
It goes up even easier.
And I think that's why maggots are so successful. Yeah. So the answer to the question is, I don't know what is the right one, but if you said to me, what bait have you going to put on your hook for the rest of your life if you were method feeder fishing, it'd be maggots.
Maggots, yeah. Because I've got this big thing, like at the minute at Boddington, it's no secret, everyone's using bread. punches of bread, and they're not fishing it popped up. Everyone assumes bread has to be popped up. They're not fishing it on the bottom, hard compressed bread. And you come away and you think bread's the only hook bait to put on, and it is. You chuck it out, you get a bite on it.
Yeah.
Not what I didn't yesterday, but you know what I mean. But then you're walking back to the car and you're like, you use bread, yeah, you use bread, yeah, you use bread. Every man's got bread on. So it's like...
It's not proved or disproved, is it?
Yeah, it's obviously working, and it's a great bait, isn't it, bread? But
yeah.
it's...
Well, let me ask you this question. So if you were going to a place where bread's banned...
I fished maggots yesterday, by the way.
Right.
Because I wanted to get it out of my head, and I blanked.
You should have fished bread.
Should have fished bread.
So it's going to be like a wafter or a pellet.
Yeah.
What colour?
Oh, Jesus.
And why do you pick out your favourite colour? And I know there's people that are obsessed by pinks.
Pink.
I know people are obsessed by yellow. I know people are obsessed by whites.
Orange.
And the orange was the kiddie 10 years ago. Yeah. Everybody wanted to put
Chocolate
an orange
wasn't
on.
it? Chocolate
Yeah. And it's a bit like the maggot debate. Red maggot's the one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I learned years ago that first cast, you go like that with your favourite colour wafter or
you get a bite,
bandom or whatever it is. You don't take that off until you stop getting bites. And red maggot, great example, slightly going off the subject, is first chuck on a feeder. Bit jumpy around this fire, isn't it? It's obviously.
I like it though.
Are you not flame proof?
I've never lived with a fire. It's good.
Oh really?
No.
Oh well, you're going to get used to it.
Don't put heating on in our house.
That's just painted radiators red so they look warm. You put the red maggot on, and fish aren't here yet, fish aren't here. You keep it on,
Yeah.
You catch 3 bream.
That's you're done for the day, aren't you?
Fish swim off. You keep it on. Then when you've not had a bite for an hour, you put a white one on. You don't get a bite. So you take it back off, you put a red one on, the fish rock back up, they come back into your swim, you catch 3, you got it with red maggot. I'm convinced that's what people do.
Yeah, 100%.
So
you stay on your first bite, don't you?
There is no answer to the method.
And it's like all the underwater, the Corda stuff, the carp sort of stuff. It always leans towards pink, doesn't it? Every single one, even the Guru method feeder one, pink, pink, pink. But again, it's that gin clear water, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're fishing in, like yesterday, it was the colour of tea, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And can they see the bread, do you think? Or do you think that it's my theory of the traction?
I think they
can... bread must have some traction.
They smell it as well, don't forget, because someone said, Steve Ringer again, said to me, they can't smell bread. I'm like, but we can smell it when we go in the shop. It's
Great
subtle,
point.
But it's a lovely subtle, isn't it?
What about meat?
I love meat. Everyone knows I love pepperami. That's my next port of call, meat. I love pepper. That would be my first choice every time, meat.
So a good friend of ours, Brian Sullivan, who is
top man,
an experienced angler,
top man.
I mean, he's done it all, and he's like, meat. You want meat? If you're chucking a bomb out to catch a car, you want meat.
Yeah.
And so I started on bread because I'm obviously an idiot. And I've had a couple of liners. This is a match recently, and I thought there's fish there. I'm getting liners. Put meat on, straight round. Got one. And his theory was based on this. He said, when I open a tin of meat outside the house, next door's dog comes straight round.
Yeah.
You can smell it from next door.
Yeah.
I mean, he shouldn't be getting it kick up the arse, but and he said, if the dog knows I'm opening a tin of meat before I've even finished opening it, surely the fish can tell. And when you smell it yourself, we commented on the steak video when I was mixing the mince.
Smell it, can't you? It's subtle, but it's there and it's bold, it's strong. And I think bread, you walk into a shop that's freshly cooked bread, I know sliced bread's different, but you can smell it, can't you?
Yeah, of course you can.
And it's a natural. The barrel bait I use, I don't hate to go off on a tangent here, but the barrel bait I use barely smells of anything. And it's like...
But does it taste?
It tastes very subtle. It's all very subtle. But there's something that makes us go back to bread every time, and there's something that makes us go for pasta every time. We know, as humans, that pasta's great, isn't it? It doesn't even smell of anything.
No,
but we love it, don't we?
No, it's great. So here's the question then. Is bread... We could finish on this. Is bread the best fishing bait on the planet?
Yeah, without a doubt. You go anywhere in the world, in the sea, go in a river, a canal, you're going to get a fish on bread, aren't you? You could go into...
Well, you're putting your money down ready there, aren't you?
Bread. Bread's the bait. Bread's the best bait.
Not worms.
Worms are all right, aren't they? Don't get me started on sweet corn. Bread.
No, you're not a sweet corn fan, are you?
I hate the stuff.
But yet some people love it.
On it, don't they?
Well, we'll leave it to you.
Me, obviously.
Is bread the best fishing bait on the planet? There you go. Yeah. Tune in next time for another series of the mixing bowl. So remember, guys and gals, obviously we want to bring this content for you, and we want to keep it free of charge and free flowing and as interesting as possible. And we can only do that if you out there support us. So if you can just take the time to like and subscribe to our channel, that's really much appreciated. And don't forget, if you want to bring something to the table and make it a point of discussion here on the mixing bowl, comment below.